I am.
Oh, and you know what? I also need to record. All right. I'm getting a message saying that we are now streaming live on YouTube. So, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Who Do You Think You Are? My name is Lasia Kahoot, and I am your host. And as always, I am here with my co host on the show and in life, Mr. Glenn Sheridan.
Hello, everyone.
And today we have another super special guest that we have been wanting to have on the show for a long time. And so we're really excited that finally today is the day. So, just before I go into introductions, I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. We are so grateful that we are coming to you from Saanich on Vancouver Island, where we live, work, breathe, and play on the unceded lands of the Wasanich people. We are so grateful to have the opportunity to do so every moment of every day, including right now. So, as we move along, today's guest, who is someone that I also know and is a good friend of mine, she is an award winning personal brand and lifestyle photographer, makeup artist, mentor, and creative producer for the modern entrepreneur. Her creative journey began with her profound love of all living things. How beautiful is that? Her passion for creative arts and a lifelong desire to make a difference in the world and to inspire others to do the same. She has a podcast called The Eloquent Entrepreneur, in which she revels, highlighting the stories of entrepreneurs to inspire the everyday change maker in all of us. So she says, whether you're a business owner, notable personality, or mother of two, you make an impact. So, with that in mind, our guest today offers a fresh and genuine approach to creating compelling visual branding that reveals the soul, inspires connection, and makes a lasting impression. Now, I also know this person on a personal level because she is a friend and she is my photographer. So I met her a few years ago when I was scouring the internet to try and find someone to do some photography for me. And I got hooked immediately when I saw the questionnaire that she had on her website and just the thought provoking, insightful questions that she asked, which really made me think about who I am. And I was already in spiritual practitioner studies or on my way to that. And what is it that I wanted out of the experience? And so the conversation that resulted, based on that questionnaire is what ended up with us working together and having this amazing day where Glenn was there, there was a makeup artist there, and we went to 3 different locations and just all day had this incredible experience of capturing my essence, I guess, on film, so to speak. And then a friendship ensued, and here we are a few years later, and we're talking with this person on our show. And I am so delighted because it has been amazing to watch the trajectory of this individual from a few years ago to where she is now, how she is showing up in the world, and the impact that she is making. So, with all of that, knowing that there is so much more to come up that's already bubbling up, I would like to ask Linda Mackie, tell us, who do you think you are?
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Lassie and Glenn, for having me. I'm just like, I've been terrified to come on the show. But now that I'm here, I'm just so excited. And hearing you actually introduce me, that really almost made me cry because it just really instilled this groundedness in, wow. And hearing you say it, because normally it's me writing it and maybe saying it to other people, but hearing somebody else say it just really made me feel grounded and convicted in who I am and what I do. And so thank you for that, because that just is really empowering just for me in this moment. But yeah, so I knew you were going to ask me that question.
Yeah.
Who do I think I am? And I mean, the biggest like 2 words that come to mind that you helped me uncover, discover, is infinite possibilities. And I mean, this is what I wish for everyone. But I mean, I am literally just a woman, a girl, a female, on this journey of life, of self discovery, of self expression, self acceptance, most of all. and really just trying to understand who I am and be understood and ultimately be happy, and leave this world knowing that, my presence made a difference. And that's really at the core of everything, I think, in terms of who I think I am. I mean, I can list off all the things. I'm a mom, I'm a photographer, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, sister in law, friend, sister. um, I'm a mentor, I'm a podcast host, I'm a, oh my gosh, what are all the things? You know, um, I love that we are all so many things. Like we have so many facets to us, and this is part of why I do what I do, and I love what I do, by the way. I love being a photographer, and I've been a photographer for a long time. That's my core, I guess, identity, apart from being a mother, which is my other core. Family is super key to me, super important, and relationships, of course. But yeah, it's been a journey of definitely self discovery and seeing. I mean, part of the reason I'm on this show is so I can express myself, and because when I became a photographer, I was on the other side, and I
Mm-hmm.
consciously did that because um, I didn't know how to express myself. I grew up, I had a great dad, but he was quite critical of me growing up. And just slowly over time, like just through, being the child of the 70s, you're seen, not heard. Over time, it was always like, oh, don't be so loud, don't be so rambunctious, don't be so boisterous. And I was quite all those things when I was a kid. So I was shushed
Yep.
a lot. And so just over time, I just really, kind of shrunk into myself. And so by the time, I mean, I'd had, various careers and stuff like that. But by the time I became a photographer, I mean, what really inspired me to be a photographer was just taking pictures of friends and various models and actors and stuff like that. And I was just so in awe of seeing them express themselves on camera. And I just was like, wow, you're amazing. Like how, like I was just fascinated by, seeing them really express themselves and, you know, blossom in front of the camera. Like they're just their whole, I could see who they were, and I was like, I wish people could see me this way. So, anyways, yeah, that's who I am now, and I mean, that's who I am through this whole, or becoming, I should say. And I feel like I'm on the show today for a reason because I feel ready to be seen and
Mm-hmm.
heard, and um, that's why I've kind of delved into these other avenues of expression, like mentoring and the podcast. That was a huge step for me a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
um, so yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about it right now, but I'm sure there's lots more to uncover as we carry on.
Yeah, that tons to uncover. And so, I mean, you kind of you said it all with infinite possibilities, and there are infinite directions and infinite conversations that we could have just based on that response right there. There's so much in there to unpack. And I guess the thing that sort of jumps out for me immediately is that what you were talking about, because we're the same age, we were
Yes.
born in the same year. And so the whole notion of being a child of the 70s and being seen, not heard, I get that. I can totally relate to that. And sort of having to live up to other people's expectations or by other people's rules, which is not to knock parenting styles of any kind. It was just different.
Yeah.
And so, the way what you said, I wish people could see me this way, as you were seeing other people when you were looking through, the camera and sort of seeing them express themselves. But now, being able to say, I'm ready to be seen and heard. And that's partly why I'm on the podcast today. it kind of reminds me of two things. It reminds me of my experience of what it was like to be photographed by you, and how much preparation went into that, and just sort of, it wasn't just like me coming to you and saying, okay, make me look awesome, and just, sort of, shoot me in a certain number of poses or whatever. You
Yeah.
really wanted to know what I was about. You wanted to know what my life was about. You wanted to know what I thought, how I felt about things. And so when it came to pick the locations, there was a lot of thought and a lot of intention that went into those three locations that we ended up shooting at.
Hmm.
And part of it for me was because I feel so connected to the land. I feel so connected to just the earth and the mountains and the sea and the trees and the water. And for me, it felt like I had to be outside to do that photo shoot,
Hmm.
because if I had been inside, I would have been limiting myself, from how I could really, really show up. But then, as much work as went into the prep, to see the images that came out of that experience, the ones that you captured with your eye through the lens of the camera, the way that you were perceiving things. um,
Hmm.
it was, I just remember sitting there like at your studio that first time when you showed me those like hundreds where I had to narrow down to 10, which for me was kind of easy because I had worked for a photographer for a few years earlier in my 20s. And so right
Yeah.
away, it was like I could see the ones, no immediately. And then
Yeah.
it kind of would go, this or this, this or this, this or this. And I narrowed it down pretty quickly. But to see myself the way that you and your camera saw me was a really, really interesting experience, because it wasn't just a snapshot at an event, that someone took with, their camera, their phone, disposable, whatever. um, it was crafted, and there's this artistry and this skill, and this just allowing of creativity to express as we were working together. And it was so much fun. I mean, it was a super hot day. It was at the end of
It
September.
has
I
to
think
be
it was
fun.
actually, it was on our anniversary, I think. And it was a super hot
Hmm.
day, which was unexpected for that time of year.
Hmm. Well, it was
And
July, wasn't
so,
it, or
no,
June?
no, no, it was September. It was
Oh, right,
September.
yeah. Mm.
And it was just sunny and hot and like blisteringly hot. But it was beautiful, and it was fun, and it was great. Just such an incredibly positive experience. So there was that of you capturing me, and then me seeing myself captured in
Hmm.
that way and going, wow, like I kind of, I'm seeing things about myself I didn't necessarily see before, I didn't know, or whatever. So that was really neat. And I have these beautiful prints, just sort of as a beautiful memory. And the other thing is, sort of as you're talking about capturing, and using this lens as a filter to see these people that you're photographing express themselves and their true nature, is we recently saw this movie Free Guy. And in that,
Mm.
there are these sunglasses that the people of Free City, I forget what they are, like what that level of people is called, but when they put these sunglasses on, they see life for what it truly is, and the infinite possibilities that they can actually
Mm-hmm.
take
That was a
advantage
good
of
movie.
and flow into. And it was just like, this is what's real. It's not sort of this like being asleep or not being open or whatever, the sort of the drudgery of every day. But at the same time, the main character in that show, even before he finds out that, there are these infinite possibilities available to him, he's still making the best of every moment and every day. And so it just, it's kind of like life is what you make it. Life is really what you make it and how you perceive it.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's ever been a time, in my lifetime at least, to be able to like keep shifting perspective and seeing the good or the possible versus what, is going on, it's been the last 2 years of, the COVID experience, or
Oh, big time.
unfoldment or response or whatever. But
Yeah.
but anyway, so just, back to the infinite possibilities. I just love that, because that just opens the door to anything is possible.
Oh,
You can do anything you
yeah.
want.
That was really, I mean, I don't know if I told you, but that was a big like aha moment for me. Like it was life changing actually. because it made me realize that, you know what, I am and can be anything I want to be in any given moment. And I want other people to know that too. Like, you can literally, in an hour from now, change your life any way you want. Like, do whatever you want. Um, I mean, it sounds, but I mean, that's kind of the concept, right?
Yeah, it is.
um, and so I'm like, you know what? I'm not in a box. I'm not just a photographer. I have so much more to me. And yeah, I bring a lot of stuff into who I am as a photographer, my process, how I do things, how I see through the lens, how I see people, all that stuff, and all the emotional and all that, but there's all this other stuff that like when I started becoming a mentor, I mean, I'm doing it slowly, but I'm realizing, you know what? I have a lot of knowledge and wisdom that I can impart. Why not be a mentor?
Yep.
I can help. I have my assistant, and we're working together, and I'm mentoring her in her business, and she's helping me, and it's just so rewarding because I'm like, wow, I actually have something to share and teach and impart to somebody else. And and now it's kind of like bringing actually clients who I'm actually photographing to help them in their business. So it's kind of like just one thing I'm like that I was surprised at that came as a result of this way of thinking, that we are all infinite possibilities. And at the end of the day, we're here to really, like, through the lens that you were talking about, reality versus, that's part of the journey, is to really see life for what it is, and be more accepting of it and yourself.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that was the other realization. I mean, I've been on that journey, like all of us, like to love myself and be accepting of myself and all that kind of stuff. And I went through years of not liking myself and thinking I was not good enough, and everybody hated me and all this other stuff. But eventually, through a lot of work and, chatting with people like you and other people, like, having those conversations and doing the work, the inner work, just coming to realize, you know what, I'm really okay, and really accepting myself. And, that's huge. And that's part of my work now as a photographer, because I see it all the time with women, especially, and men too, but mostly women. We just beat ourselves up all the time. We criticize ourselves, and we have so much to give the world. um, but if we waste our time criticizing ourselves and putting ourselves down, that just gets in the way. It's gotten in my way
Mhm.
of getting here. I mean, it took me 10 years to produce the Eloquent Entrepreneur podcast video series, because I was terrified. I was like, and I had all these reasons why I shouldn't do it, and that I'm not, like, who am I to do this, create this, this podcast, and interview these people, like, and then it just had, with the help of my friend Adira and her husband, we filmed the first 4 episodes in 2019. And that was just like somebody saying, hey, Linda, let's do this. You are good enough. You've got, they just sort of nudged me along. And, but it's like all these little things that happen, and people that come into your life. And, it's like suddenly you wake up and you're like, yeah, and then you're doing it. And then you're like, oh, I am possible. It is possible. This is a possibility for me. And then you open it up for other people, right? So, and as you know, I mean, we're in our 50s now. I mean, that's another thing that has really hit home with me, is that I can't waste any more time. I don't have the luxury of, another, well, I mean, I'd hope I live to 90. I do have longevity in my family, but I mean, there's no guarantee, and I know I'm not going to be a photographer forever. I think I have like more to leave behind. I'll leave behind beautiful photos, but I'd like to feel like I leave behind inspiration and people actually you know fully expressing themselves and getting to a point where they accept who they are and are excited about how they unfold, because we're always becoming, and that's something that is in the collective consciousness now. I think we all kind of feel that we are always becoming, and I love that concept. Because who knows what I'm going to be like in a year from now? Who knows?
Yep.
Or you? um, so yeah, so I got off on a tangent there, but
No, that's what bubbled up, right? And that's what these conversations are all about. And again, I mean, there's just
yeah.
so much to sort of go along with there. And I too, I love the idea of always becoming, because this notion that at least was in my purview maybe a couple of decades ago, where there were tons of self-help books that sort of said, 3 easy steps to do these 10 things and you will, just this systems which can, do have a time and place, but that, then you'll get to here and you'll arrive at your destination, like you'll
Yeah.
reach the goal kind of thing. But then what? Well, then there's another goal, then there's another destination, and this is life. I mean, life is always fluid, it is always changing, it is never stagnant. And I continue along with my spiritual and consciousness studies, because for me that's not only my main source of inspiration, but that's the activation for me to continue stepping into the next best version of myself. And I would say more often than not, it's hard. It's challenging, because our comfort zone is the comfortable place to be, because it's what we know. It's what we know, it's what we remember, it's what we've experienced. If we repeat what we've done up until now, we'll get more of the same. So there's comfort and familiarity in that.
Mhm.
But the comfort zone is also an uncomfortable place to be, because this, imagination, this creativity, this energetic universal flow that is always in play, that is the very essence of who we are, these infinite possibilities that you're talking about, they're constantly in play, they're constantly flowing, they're constantly available. And if we keep ourselves in these boxes or these shells of comfort zones, where it's like, I'm okay here because I know what's going on, if I venture
Mhm.
out of my comfort zone, then I have no idea. That push, that impulse, that whatever flow, it's going to keep hitting up against that comfort zone. And the harder we try, the harder it's going to be to stay in that comfort zone. And that's
Mhm.
when we're going to, not just attract but create experiences that are going to keep making it more and more and more uncomfortable to be in that comfort zone. Whether it's, like having challenging relationships with others, whether it's experiencing pain and disease in our body, whether it's having the repetition of those old thoughts, beliefs of, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I don't have what it takes, I'll never make it as an entrepreneur, whatever, that just keep replaying and replaying until you decide, enough. I am shifting, I am pivoting, I am stepping out of the comfort zone, even though I am
Mhm.
terrified to do so, because
Oh
there's
yeah.
so many different ways to live life than there is, having lived it a certain way up until now, kind of thing. So I love what you're doing, and I love that, the work that you do and the exploration that you've done on yourself, and this becoming that you are allowing yourself to just be fully immersed in, um, is
Mhm.
now inspiring others, because that's kind of the ripple effect, like it's the, I mean, my teacher has this, when Harry met Sally thing, I'll have what she's having. So when people see someone who is confident and accepting of themselves and loving themselves and valuing themselves, for
Mhm.
some people it can be very scary and off-putting. But I still think even with that, there's that underneath, which is like, but this is who you are too. And you can feel that way too. And you can have this too. So it causes a shift, in someone else too. And I feel like that's what, happens with the work that you do. I feel like that's what happens with the work that I do. That's what happened. And I'm not just talking about like you as a photographer or me as, a spiritual coach or soul excavator. I'm talking about the work we do on ourselves, like that constant exploration and discovery of self that continues to bolster self acceptance and self love and
Mm-hmm.
self care and expansion and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It can only then ripple out in a positive way, allowing others to feel that sort of stirring inside themselves, or and bring more of those kind of people into our life that then keep that
Mm-hmm.
shift happening and keep that stirring and shaking up, and that
Yeah.
impulse to step out of our comfort zone, to keep doing that ourselves too. So
Yeah. Well, when you say that, it's no, what do you call it? It's not
coincidence.
it's not coincidence that I am doing this work, because it's the work I'm doing myself. And, I just got really tired of feeling shitty about myself. And I really, and then when in my photography, I mean, I've been doing this, I guess, now for 20 years, almost 20 years. But I've seen it time and time again with clients, who just, you can tell they just don't like who they see in the photographs, and they don't, have that self acceptance. And I really recognize it now because, I mean, I'm still on the journey of self acceptance. I'm not saying that I'm like 100%, we're all, still becoming and all that kind of stuff. But I just got tired of it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of, um, yeah, like not doing the things that I want to do because of these limiting beliefs about myself. And, um, you know, and even when I have I mean, I've had photo shoots of myself, and that's been really freeing too, because sure, I mean, yeah, I've had some bad pictures, but I mean, I look at those photos and I just go, like, that's still me. That's who I was in that moment. And that's okay. I'm okay, you know? And that's a really empowering place to be, and that's where I want my clients to get to is, come into your photo shoot with that self-love and acceptance and excitement to really express yourself, because that's when when you fully express yourself. Like, you were a great example. Like, you were just, you came into it with that energy, and just, you have, what I consider, like, that self-acceptance piece that I want everybody to have, and just be super excited and just go, wow, yeah, that looks great. Okay, maybe let's try this angle, or, like, I mean, do you know what I'm saying? Like, just be okay with it and not nitpick yourself, not say, oh, I'm so fat, or I hate my hair, or oh my God, my makeup's terrible, or I hate my nose, like, that's just, it's not helpful, right? And it's not empowering. And yeah, there's just so much more to us. And yeah, so I just kind of like got sick of that for myself, like, okay, this is me, this is how I show up. And,
On that
good
note,
with it.
I have to say, we have a photo shoot coming up, and I did just ask you to push it because my hair was not going to look
Oh,
good, because I messed up on the date for my hair appointment, right? Like, I
yeah,
thought
no,
it was
that's
at the beginning of the
okay.
month. But
Yeah.
it's like, no, because for me, honestly, still at this point in my life, from like when I was a teen, if I don't feel like my hair looks good, the rest of me just follows suit. There's
Well,
totally a belief wrapped up in there. I
yeah.
am aware of that, but like, my hair is an extension of me.
Well,
And
you are right. Hair is important because it is part of our look. It kind of pulls everything together, right? And
see Glenn laughing.
if we know,
For those who don't
that's a look
know,
too, right?
Glenn doesn't have a lot of hair on his head.
Yeah.
I,
Well, I know. I mean, I can relate. I mean, if I had long hair, I look terrible. But so this is my look, and I mean I got bangs recently, but yeah, you got to be kind of happy with your hair and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, that's all surface stuff, right? But I'm
Yes.
talking about the core,
Yeah.
coming in and just being ready, and just putting the energy into it, you
Yeah.
know?
And so speaking of energy and being ready and that self-acceptance and film,
Yeah.
this is something that you have actually
Fixing my hair.
incorporated into a workshop that you have done once or twice, I think so far. Do you want to talk to people a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this was kind of brought about actually because I had witnessed this type of thing, a handful of times with clients who, you know, for whatever reason, like they weren't totally happy with their photos, and I was just scratching my head, going, "Oh my gosh, like these are awesome! You look amazing!" and da da da. And but I knew in my heart it was because they didn't like themselves and who they saw in the photos.
Mhm.
And I knew there was so much work to do, and I saw myself in them a little bit too, because you know, I mean, we've all had our picture taken. So I look back at old photos of myself, and I remember thinking, oh, like hating them because I didn't like who I saw in the photos, basically. And so, I mean, when I look back on those photos now, I'm like, wow, I was so pretty. I was so like, I look great. I look amazing. I wish I could look like that now. you know? So anyway, with it was actually in collaboration with another client of mine, Amy Leah Tamburini. She was a guest on my show, The Eloquent Entrepreneur, and we just started talking, and we were talking about all this stuff like self-expression and self-acceptance, and I was like, wow, this is something, because I kind of thought about it before, like it would be great to have like some kind of workshop or retreat where people would come in and they would um, you know we would work together on confidence boosting, and really kind of talking about limiting beliefs and these kind of core things that really get in our way of really accepting who we are. And anyway, so that's how the Stepping Into Your Essence one day retreat was born. We're like, yeah, let's do this. And she does circle dialogue, and which is like creating harmonious conversations, and kind of deep exercises in you know getting to the core of how you feel about yourself. And I mean, it's so much more than that. It's hard to explain, but anyway. And then she brought in a friend of hers, Brett McDonald, who is a improvisation teacher. So she helps people really like with risk taking and just putting themselves out there, expressing themselves in a really safe environment, playful environment. And yeah, so we had our first retreat in October, and it was really great because I got to participate in it, and so did my assistant, Victoria, and then two of my clients who had already booked photo shoots. And it was just really magical, and just the transformations that occurred in all of us was amazing. Like, just that was another piece of my puzzle too, that is contributing to why I'm here today. Like, okay, I just have that much more confidence to show up. And anyway, so it's just a day of really being able to express yourself, talk about your feelings. We have journaling exercises. We have the improvisational exercises. And yeah, it was, oops, my phone just dropped. Yeah, it's just a really magical day. And the next one's going to be even. And yeah, I mean, you don't have to be a client of mine to join. You can.
Linda, sorry, just you
Yeah.
froze for a second, so we missed the date. So did you mention when the next one is going to be?
Oh, right. Yeah, the next one is on March
Okay.
12th in Victoria. It is in person. because we do need to have the ability to be in circle. So, like sitting in circle, and then the improvisational stuff. So, and it's limited to I think 8 people, um, and of course we'll be following all the protocols and everything for safety and stuff like that. So,
Right.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And one of the things that my clients told me that they really, really, said made a huge difference was me doing it with them, because it really sort of helped us connect
Right.
more, on an intimate level, and that they felt comfortable with me and we were doing it together and they could really feel safe expressing themselves. And yeah, and then when it came time for their photo shoot, like, I mean, I saw the energy shift, in a huge way for both of them. And, and of course, as a result, the photos were that much better.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So really, I mean, just I keep hearing the words self-acceptance, connection. I keep thinking confidence, and just all and empowerment, like just empowerment, empowerment, and empowerment to just really be who we truly are, not just who we think we are, not just the labels, the stories, the expectations, ours or others.
Hmm.
That we ascribe to, but our essence. And so I even love the fact you're calling it stepping into your essence. It's
Yeah,
just
I know.
embracing and embodying who you
Yeah.
are at your core, period.
Yeah, that title just came to me like instantly because that's what it really is. And like a couple of, like I said, two of my clients did it, and one of them is just, I could just see like during the whole, like during the workshop, like, and you could just see the wheels turning, and it was just amazing to watch her transformation in particular. And I see her now, just she's putting herself out on video, talking and really expressing herself and embracing, herself and her business. And because she's got, we all have our gifts, right? And
Yeah.
if we don't say who we are, and I'm an example of it. Like I'm, finally, I mean, I've kind of put myself out there over the years, but it's still, it's scary, right, for us. And yeah, so it's really, that's just so rewarding for me to see somebody like that this actually made a difference in her life, and she's really embracing herself. And there's no like, oh my god, what are people going to think, or like she's just doing it, and that's the point. That's really the point.
Yeah, doing it
So
even when you do think, what are people going to think? Just doing it anyway. I mean, there's the
yeah,
confidence, there's the empowerment to just move forward despite, all of those stories or limiting beliefs that might still be, like nattering and niggling away kind of thing. Mahoney, I keep sort of looking over at you, and every now and then I see like maybe there's like a glimmer or something, but this is one of those rare times when Glenn hasn't said a word,
oh
and we're more than half an hour in. So, Honey
yeah,
Bunch, did you want to
what are you
chime in with
thinking?
anything there?
Okay,
Tell
thinking
me.
lots. So, and it's like I'm piecing something together here as I'm listening to both of you give different perspectives on more or less the same um, point, but the word, like Lassie, you said empowerment, and Linda, you're mentoring kind of recent activities. The word that comes up for me is more like encouragement, like making sure people know they have, like, they can be courageous, right? They can step up,
Yeah,
step into, as you said.
big time.
And so that's what I'm getting. So the what I was going to ask you earlier, and I think you've answered some of it, is that thing that people do when they have been doing the same thing for a long time, and the so-called putting in the 10,000 hours to perfect their craft, writers do it, painters do it, photographers do it,
Hmm.
and speakers do it, people who speak for a living, whatever. So
Yeah.
now what's sort of dawning on me here is that when you do that stuff and you make it look so easy, like not just Lassie's pictures or the ones you did of our daughter, where you just look at it and you go, wow, like she's really captured the essence of who I know this person to be, you know?
Mm.
Uh, and and I guess it's more like the essence of the the subject of the photograph, who they know themselves, what they're capable of, right? So what it's dawned on me is that the other stuff we're talking about what we're being encouraged to do, and being reminded of that we're capable of so much more than just the one story or narrative that we tell ourselves, like, oh, this is what I do, I am this, I'm that, I'm good at this thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But there, what it's almost like when you're a child and you are loved and you're brought into the world and you're integrated into the family in obviously different ways for each person, those moments that the child knows, like my inner child knows that, oh, I'm loved, i I like it here, it's lovely, it's funny, you get to laugh, you get to bump your head and get up and someone will give you a hug, and you know, like, so there's this sort of almost equivalent of the 10,000 hours of knowing that I am divine, or I am, you know, I'm part of, I'm meant to be here to do my thing, you know. So when it's growing all the time, because you can't do everything as your child, you have to take these baby steps and go out into the world, right?
Yeah.
And explore and try and, you know, fail and get up and, you know. But what we do is, it's almost like then a door comes down, or a wall, and we forget, you know, for a period of time, and we get just mesmerized by this other story that people start telling us about, oh, you know, go, you're too loud, or you're too this, or, you know, go away, and then you start
Mm-hmm.
believing that story. And then later on in life, people who, for whatever reason, remind you of what you're capable of and how beautiful you are, and you know what an amazing friend you are. Those are like little glimpses back into what our child knew, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like you're then adding new moments or hours to your already stored up, you know, um, series of moments, knowing that it's all good. I'm fine. I'm a wonderful person. I've got something to contribute. But you know, it's kind of weird, because it's like a picture is cut in half, or like or like you know, a glass picture on glass, and you kind of, you got half of it is perfect, or a third of it, and then the rest is all these little shards, and you're putting them back together. But really, you know, you who you are in this picture. Like, that's what I'm getting out of this thing of, like, the mentorship, the friendship, and what you're doing, and what Lassie does with her uh, you know, in person and online mentoring.
Yes.
Basically, it's important work, because it's, especially if it's done in person, it's smaller groups. The energy is sort of better when it's kind of more intimate,
Mm-hmm.
and you, it's more real than something like a, you know, like a mass kind of going to the movies or something, where it's just like kind of sterile, and like, oh, okay, that was fun for 2 hours, sort of, because it was noisy and I didn't like that part and whatever. But when you have an intimate um, experience with another person in a group, in a small, you know, one on one or three people, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, it's important work. And I think that's why social media is developing the way it is, and these new platforms,
Mm-hmm.
because you can impact a lot of people, or you can impact one person, and it's huge. Even if you impact one person, it is absolutely huge, because you don't know what they're then doing, who they're impacting, you know. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I it makes me think of, like, like we're all I'm still the little girl. I'm still Linda, the little girl. And it just this work is it always brings me back to that, because I always like remember myself, um as being totally okay with myself when I was a kid. I was super expressive. According to my whoever, I was a bit over the top. I was quite boisterous and loud and this, that, and the other. But I was really confident and really opinionated. And I mean, I was even called bossy once, you know. So that is, I guess, as you're talking about that stuff, it makes me realize like that is a key part of this work. And even when I'm photographing people, like I think that's the highly sensitive person in me. And that's another story, which has been a really major life changing realization for me, because I've always been very highly sensitive. It doesn't mean I'm a crybaby or anything. It means that I'm very highly compassionate, empathic, very aware of other people's feelings and I don't know, for lack of a better term, like essence. Like I just can feel who people are, and that's why I have such an interest in my clients and wanting to get to know them and do all the pre-work, because it's for me to really get an understanding of who that person is. And really at the core of each of us is the little boy or the little girl that we want to bring out. Because I mean, although we have 10,000 hours of our whatever vocation we go into and we're learning and, we're always becoming and everything, but that little person is still within us and, has that true, authentic confidence and just self-awareness, which is another buzzword, but I find that self-awareness is lacking in a lot of ways these days. But being like just in the moment and in our core joy, right? And that's kind of what I would love to see. And that's what I saw when I started my career and photographing people, like just seeing their core, seeing that little boy or little girl inside them and that real sense of who they are. And I don't know where I'm going with this, but like it's when we have a place where, because like I was saying in my experience, I had my own beliefs, but then slowly but surely I would have people, whether it was my parents or other people, kids, I was bullied when I was in grade 6, and that was some of these things are very impactful. So then you start to believe everybody else and you tell yourself that you're wrong, you're not a good person, you are this, that, the other, and you start believing what everybody else tells you. And so then we have to, like you said, like how did you say it? But like we have to like basically, retrain our brains and our hearts and, start bringing that child back again, that real pure confidence and sense of self, I think.
Yeah, that because the infinite possibilities thing, that's what childhood is, right? That,
Yes.
like you, as you said, you liked being you, and I certainly, I mean, I've had a lot of those memories of like just really pure happiness about whatever it was, And part of that is just the experience you're going through, but part of it is like enjoying being who you are, you know, being like I'm in a pretty large family, so being the youngest or the shortest or whatever it is, like certain things have advantages, and you just sort of you would be able to kind of just purely enjoy being fill in the blank of your name because in my estimation, like we each choose who we are and who our siblings and parents are because we all want to have challenges to overcome, but sometimes I think maybe we have set up or sometimes the way it looks to me is that we maybe put too many obstacles in our way, and then it kind of knocks the wind out of us, and it takes a lot to get back up and like move through it and go, no, I can actually overcome these things. Um, but and by the way, you're saying about being bossy, you unless you live in this family, you have no idea what bossy means. So 'cause I've got it from both sides.
And
But
it's okay to be bossy sometimes. That's how we get
yes,
things done, right?
that's right. Yeah, way to be diplomatic.
Mean.
Yeah,
I have a
the
bossy husband too, so
yeah,
and
the other,
child actually.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
Yeah. We can all be bossy, but it's
it,
again, it's another side of how we express ourselves, right?
yeah,
And it's because we care and we want to make sure, you know, we want things to get done right.
yeah. I, I'm telling you, this is the right way to do it because I love you. You know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. I did have something in mind and then it just totally threw me off thing.
Oops.
The thing that comes to mind when you guys it's I'm really sort of like opening my mind to hearing you guys talking about this because for me, I even though I know I had a good childhood, I don't have a lot of happy memories. My memory of childhood is very patchy for me. And
Mm,
so for me, it's it kind of a little while ago in the conversation, Linda, you said something about how you can go back and look at pictures of yourself now and just say, I was so beautiful, or I'm so beautiful, back then. And I think for me, that's more like what the work is. It's not so much to remember the kind of joy or freedom that I might have been experiencing as a child because I don't feel like I did.
mm,
But from where I am now, go back and change my relationship, be able to change my relationship or perspective to what happened. I mean, as I'm reading through my book again for my editor, and I'm reading through these stories and vignettes that are, illustrating fear, failure, and faith, and then the realizations and spiritual, lessons that came as a result of my spiritual consciousness studies and the reframing of all of those things that happened in the past now. That's what it's like for me, is to sort of, that's how I'm seeing that no matter what happened, even not because of what happened, or things unfolded the way they did so that I could get to a point where I could look and not make it trite and seem like there was a silver lining, or even necessarily see the gift in it, but see that just because an experience happened and felt a certain way at the time, and I remembered those feelings and latched onto those feelings and grounded myself in those feelings for many, many years afterwards, even though that event happened back then, kind of thing,
mm,
that I don't need to go forward feeling that same way or being anchored in those negative feelings or beliefs about that event, that I can now reframe with more, because I have more understanding, and I
mm,
know I feel more empowered. I feel more grounded in who and what I am and the infinite possibilities that are the essence of me, to use your languaging. I can look
mm,
back at those experiences now without feeling like a failure, without feeling scared, without feeling hurt, without feeling wounded.
mhm,
um there, it can be emotional sometimes still, but that emotion comes more from the scar than the wound, so to speak. So that, and that's, I think, why digging into oneself and like really exploring who and what we are is so important. And yes, it can
mhm,
inspire others, and yes, it does impact those around us, and we have no idea what us having a conversation with someone and then that person going out into the world, and whoever they interact with, how that conversation is going to ripple out into the world. Honey, when it takes me back to when we had Rick Tamlin on the show, and this is something that he sort of says quite often, is you really have no clue what your relationship or your interaction with someone, how that's going to go out and impact someone else in the world, or how many millions of people, kind of thing. So for me, I just, I keep hearing as we're having this conversation about how important it really is to just keep immersing ourselves into this becoming, keep exploring, keep
Mm-hmm.
into who and what we are beyond the labels, to still appreciate the labels and the roles and the things we play, because all of that makes up our personality, which makes up how we, express ourselves and are perhaps seen by others in our life.
Yeah.
But underneath it all, that's the driving force. And when we can tap into that creativity, that energy, that essence, then that allows us to keep becoming more of who and what we innately are anyway. And when there are reminders around us in people, our family, our community, in nature, in having our photograph taken and seeing a side of ourselves that maybe we aren't as familiar with or didn't see, or even when it feels kind of negative, like how many times have you heard in your life, oh no, don't take a picture of me, like I don't want my picture taken, like how, and when you say women especially, like when I think of that, there are more women than men that will go, I don't look good or whatever, I don't want my face, I kind of thing. And to me, it's like, okay, all right, but that's just that's opportunity knocking, saying, hey, there's something to look at here, because you're not just that photograph. You're not just that, oh, don't look at me kind of thing. You are so much more. And it's always, always available and accessible to you. You just want to, it's up to you whether or not you're going to, take a look and explore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that brings to mind, like, I mentioned I was bullied when I was in grade 6, and that was another pivotal moment in my life, because that was really impactful on me. Like, it was just another thing to make me feel shitty about myself. And, but it makes me think of how important, like, perspective and the understanding of, we're all on this journey of self-discovery and self-awareness and self-expression and acceptance. And sometimes we forget that, right? We forget that we're all kind of on our own little journeys, right? And then we've got that expectation too of how we think people should react to us or treat us, and all that stuff. So I actually ran into one of the kids that was one of the the lead bullies. And it was just like a really eye-opening thing, because I just met him. Like, I was visiting a friend who worked at a restaurant. We were sitting there having a drink, and then he shows up, and I'm like, oh my God, hi. And it'd been many years, right? This was grade 6 that this happened. Anyway, we just started chatting and having a great time, and he was very nice, and asking me all about my life and all this other stuff. And then I said, do you remember in grade 6 when you and a bunch of other boys taunted me and you were so mean to me? And I explained to him, I was totally, told him everything, that how it affected me. And he was like, he had no idea. He couldn't even remember that he had even done that. So that was like, what? Like, our realities were completely on a different page.
Yeah.
And he was so apologetic. He's like, oh my God, like, I'm so sorry. I didn't, I had no idea that, that affected you so much. And we didn't, and I was just like, wow, are you serious? And then it was just, what? I was like, okay. And I forgave him. And, that was a huge moment in my life, because I was like, okay. And I tried to rationalize it over the years. Oh, it's because they like me. That's why they're bugging me, and this, that, and the other. And that was probably the case, because, when you're kid, especially, boys, they try to get girls' attention by just, poking at them and bugging them and stuff like that, right? And so that's what I told myself over the years, and anyway, it's just a real eye-opener, and that, we're all kind of on these different journeys. And then the other piece about perspective and, how we're always becoming, we're always going to be seen differently by people in our lives, and people wonder why they, their friendships dissolve, or this, that, and the other. And it's because we are becoming, and, we grow as people, and sometimes those people that we were a certain way with, we outgrow them, right? Or we just not necessarily outgrow them, but we become different, so they can't relate to us anymore. And that's happened to me, and I'm sure you guys too. Like, just it's just part and parcel of the becoming piece. And you know I mean, in the good and the bad, like, like if you're feeling more confident and sure of yourself, and maybe with so and so you weren't that, and now they see you and they can't relate to you anymore. Does that make sense? Like, I'm kind
Oh
of
yeah.
rambling here, but I know I've seen it a lot on social media. There's been a few posts about this in particular, um, and they're just at, maybe they're at the same place in their life when
Hmm.
they knew you, but you're not. And um, and that's okay. And it's kind of like, it was an upsetting thing for me for a while, because that happened to me. I lost, or lost friends that I thought I would have for life. And but now I'm like, okay, well, I can't help that because I have a higher purpose.
Yeah. It.
And just, I mean, Glenn, I know you're going to jump in there. The one, and because I can totally relate to that. And there's at least one person that comes to mind for me, which still
Hmm.
every now and then I'm like, what happened there? I would love
Yeah.
to have her in my life. But more often than not, what I will do is I will just be grateful for the time that we were in each other's lives, grateful for how we supported each other and the friendship, that lasted and unfolded the way that it did. Even
Yeah.
though there is a part of me, sorry, frog in my throat, that would have liked for it to continue,
Yeah.
for her to be present in my life now. But for me, when I can't make sense of that and know that I could easily spiral down the rabbit hole of, oh my God, what happened? Did I do something? Whatever, like there's got to be a logical explanation. It's like, whoa. And almost part of like Ho'oponopono that Glenn and I have really started practicing a lot lately, which is just to be grateful, to just,
Mm.
acknowledge, the beauty in the friendship, as it was, and even as it is now, because I can remember, our friendship from a few years ago, for the, few years that we were in each other's lives, a lot,
Hmm.
with just immense, profound gratitude. So I just wanted to
Yeah.
throw the gratitude in the, because I feel like that's
Yeah.
been kind of on the periphery, but hasn't come into our conversation yet. So anyway, Honey Bunch, do
Yeah.
you want to hop
That's
in there?
huge.
Yeah. Just back to the you were saying about your workshop there. So were they the uh, Brett McDonald? You said was the guy who does the improv.
Girl. Yeah. She's
Oh,
a girl. Yeah.
girl. She. So um,
Mhm.
that may be news to anyway. So see, I improvised there.
There
Oh
you go.
Uh,
my
See
God.
what I did there?
I guess I should have specified she was a female.
Yeah.
Yeah. She is a female, I should say.
Um, so
Hmm.
in that setting with improv, one of the main rules being like you yes and people, like you don't you keep the flow going. You can't say no, I'm out. Like you got to keep going. So you
Yeah.
somehow you incorporate and integrate what you've just heard into like now your thread of the story, and then it carries on, right?
Hmm.
Um,
That's one of the exercises we do. Something
okay,
very
yeah.
similar to that. Yeah.
That's what it,
Hmm. Yes, and.
because it really does it's a great prompt, I think, to pull people into the playful mode, because play is huge in terms of
Hmm.
again, it's in our child's tool belt. It's like, oh, I can play, anyone can play, but somehow people have forgotten how to do that, right? um, or if they've forgotten, they know they're completely capable of being like whatever, a jokester, a prankster, a goof, and just like sometimes they limit it to like, why, I only do that when I'm with my dog or my cat or whatever. Um,
Mm.
but the what I'm pulling it back to what Lassie was saying too, the yes and thing in improv, it's similar to in the Paul Levy book that we talked about a few times, and we talked to Paul Levy, the Quantum Revelation, where in quantum world it's both and it's like you it's like wave and particle. It's both. you can't just say it's this or because it is actually both in both states. It's just that if you're the more you pay attention to it, the more like it looks like or it appears. Um,
Mhm.
but it's actually both. So then you can riff on that as well. You know, like you can use I think use that as a method of where am I going here? So if you're in a locked into one story about like who you are, what you're capable of. I'm trained as this kind of person, and I've trained myself as this kind of person. Not just that I'm an accountant or uh, I do amazing cakes or whatever. Um, so, but if you're able to kind of use that as a mantra of like, and even the gratitude thing, it's like surely we all can be grateful for something in any experience. You know, like if you've lost touch with a person, if you really didn't like an experience or a job, there must have been something that you can be grateful for, right? And that's just a way to continue on or like yes and bring it into the next kind of part of your like it's like hopping over a stream or something like you need to jump on a
Mhm.
rock and like get across somehow, right?
Yeah,
um,
exactly. Yeah. I think that ties in with that whole like, the relationship thing or like when we, maybe you've lost friends for whatever reason because but I think that's like your what's the saying? You're friends with this friends for a season and for a reason. I don't know what it is.
we'll look it up.
Yeah, I can't remember now. But anyway, the point is that yeah, like all these, it's like everything happens for a reason, and so do all the people in our lives and the things, and they're there for for a reason or for a season. I don't know. Anyway, I can't
It's
remember.
almost like you're gonna burst into song.
I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, where am I going? That yeah, like just like everybody, like it's they're all there for a reason, and that they're everything's there to teach you something and to get you to where you are. And is that what kind of what you were talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it gets like it brings us back to our preferences because that's the other thing is like the problem with infinite is like yeah, it's a little bit too big. You need to
Got a
find
choice. Make a choice.
ways to prompt yourself and
Hmm.
funnel yourself into this is what I'm going to do because I don't like this on this side and I don't like that on the other side. So this is where I'm going to be at the moment. But it's all too easy to kind of either get flustered or overwhelmed by too much possibilities. But this idea of being like if you're not your true self, you're going to
Hmm.
have like you're just spinning your wheels, right? You're not getting anywhere. Um,
Yeah.
but if you are through personal interaction with someone else, able to focus down into just like even if you're in a panic mode, everyone knows how to breathe, you know. So just breathe and be thankful that you can
Hmm.
breathe in and you can breathe out and like just do that and then something will reconnect, you know, whether it's gratitude or um, you know you see someone smiling or whatever. There's something that will bring you back to alignment with who you are, I think. So
Exactly. Yeah. 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 I've learned to. I mean, one of my good friends, Christine Monahan. I mean, she always had this saying like slow down to move ahead, and that's always stuck with me
mm,
um, because you know all too often, especially nowadays with social media, there's the FOMO thing happening, and we're all trying to like be seen and heard, and like, we don't want to miss out on stuff or all that stuff. But yeah, like that rushing around and can really get in the way of connecting with our true selves and our purpose and what we're here to do and the joy that comes along with everything so that we can be grateful for everything we have and the people in our lives and stuff like that. So that's something that I'm trying to integrate more in my life is just really slow down, breathe. I'm not missing anything, you know.
yeah,
I'm gonna I'm going to be present for the things that I'm meant to be present for.
Yeah.
And my big word for this year actually is courage. And I don't know if you listen to Brene Brown, but I love Brene Brown. But the whole like vulnerability piece, like courage in French, like le coeur is heart. And
Mhm.
if you look it up in the dictionary, it'll tell you, it's related to our heart. And vulnerability is so tied to that. And so, um, yeah, that's my big word for this year because it's like, okay, like I said, this is it. I don't have much time left. I have lots to do, and there's no time to be, um, you know, scared and holding myself back. Like it's time to have the courage and you know be vulnerable. Like, I've shared a few things here and on Facebook recently, like, okay, that's something that I've been terrified to do my whole life. But now it's like, you know what? I want people to know who I am. I
Yeah.
want people to see me as I truly am. And that's, I think I'm not alone. I think a lot of people feel the same way. And that's part of the trepidation or fear or um, about having their photos taken. People are afraid to be seen um, as they truly are. And I want to help change that, if that makes sense, you know, because I think it's really the biggest thing getting in all our ways to actually making that difference in the world. Because if we're not ourselves, how can we, it's not true, it's not real, it's not authentic if we're not being ourselves in our best, at our best, the best versions of ourselves. Um, yeah.
That
Yeah. Honey Muncher, Linda, is there music playing in the background where you are? Where am I
No.
hearing music from? Honey Munch, is there a window open? Weird.
I'm not hearing
Okay.
any music here.
I hear music. Okay, anyway, yeah, no, courage and vulnerability. As you were talking, Linda, it made me think back to a phrase that Maria Namath actually uses that I really like, which is trouble at the border. And trouble at the border being sort of the line between where we are now versus where we want to be, or how we're showing up versus who we truly are. And that in crossing the border, you can still be terrified, you can still be nervous, you can still not know what's going to happen, as you go over that border, but you do it anyway. That you muster, and that despite all of the terrified feelings and being scared and nervous and
Mhm.
anxious and whatever, you plow through anyway, because
Mhm.
there is whatever, like, life is either you're sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, or you can be more, or you're just like you're uncomfortable enough with where you are that there's something pushing you to cross that border. And to me, that's where courage and vulnerability lie, is just like at that
Mhm.
border,
Yeah.
when whether it's just for yourself, or you're sharing it with your family around you, or you're sharing it with the world. But
Yeah.
ultimately, in order to push yourself out of your comfort zone across that border, you're still battling with the trouble, so to speak, but you're doing it
Mhm.
no matter what, because ultimately the courage and the vulnerability is going to get you that much closer to who and what you truly are to begin with. And as you do it
Mhm.
once, then you have a memory of that for when the next border comes
Yeah,
up, or when
exactly.
the
Yeah.
next, sort of layer of the comfort zone comes up.
Yeah.
And you get better and better and better at it, until
Mhm.
you're doing it, like sort of subconsciously
Oh,
and automatically, and not having to think about it as much. And
yeah.
so I love that. Yeah, and we've talked about it a few times already, that your word for the year is courage. And
Yeah.
I have seen some of the posts that you've put on Facebook, and we have talked about some stuff one
Yeah.
on one. And it's just like, it's extraordinarily empowering to be vulnerable. It, even though it can feel
Mhm.
terrifying, and like you have no idea what's going to happen, when you really put yourself out there in a very candid, forthright, honest way, because you're opening yourself up to whatever, but you're
Yeah.
also proving to yourself that it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks because I'm fucking awesome just being me,
Yeah,
right?
that's a huge realization. I mean,
That's yeah.
yeah, just that whole piece of what are people going to think and, all that kind of stuff. I mean, that was me this morning. As you know, it's been a long time coming. I think I canceled maybe once or twice because, I mean, exactly because of that. I was terrified to do what we're doing right now. And just even this morning, I had no idea what I was going to say.
Mhm. And no matter how many times I said it's just a conversation, it'll flow the way it flows. And
Yeah.
honestly, I mean, most of the people we've had on the show are people we know at least a little bit, if not,
Hmm.
fairly well. And there are still days when I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, what's it going to be like? Is anybody going to listen? But ultimately,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter to me because this is something, I mean, not, no, that's not true. It does matter to me because I really value and appreciate everyone who engages with us and gives us some of their
Yeah.
valuable time and attention.
Yeah.
But ultimately, Glenn and I do this because we want to do this and we do this together. It's a way for us to engage together. It's something that we get to
Hmm.
do with each other. And we feel that whether it's, two people or 1,000 people or 1,000,000 people, it's that thing,
Hmm.
that notion of, we're having a conversation that is meaningful for us. And then
Yeah.
we go out into the world, our guest goes out into the world, our podcast goes out into the world. Perhaps someone else might find some value in there and it might impact them, in a way that is helpful and supportive and encouraging, and even empowering maybe for them.
Hmm.
And it just, for us, it helps us too, like it
Oh,
just,
totally.
every
Yeah.
single conversation I learn something, I am inspired. And just like in the intro, every single time I get to reevaluate and reconsider how I'm thinking, what I'm thinking about, how am I showing up in the world. And even in listening to you, I'm feeling really inspired to, do some more stuff on social media, which I have to say I don't like at all. I really like, I am an extrovert. I love speaking in front of people. I love being out there, but I do not like posting on social media. That is just a way I
Oh,
don't like spending
yeah.
my time. I don't hang out on social media very often. And I
Hmm.
just, I would rather, I have other stuff I'd rather do. But
Yeah.
it's like, no, in order to engage and meet new people and
Yeah.
build that global community founded in love that is part of
Yeah.
my why, well, that social media is a tool that is a very useful and engaging tool right
Yeah.
now. So I feel very inspired by you right now,
Yeah.
Linda.
Well,
Thank
I've felt the same way about social media. I'll speak to that first, but I want to talk about like just while it's in my head, like this whole I mean, it's really important to like the whole idea of like what other people are we gonna like is somebody gonna listen to this podcast? I don't know, like, what are people gonna think and everything. And one other thing that I thought of, like a dear friend of mine said to me a long time ago, it mainly pertained to the work. Like I was doing my makeup. I was a makeup artist for many years, and even my photography work. Like as long as you like it, there's going to be at least one other person that's going to like it too. And that's always stuck with me because it is really important to love what you do and do it because of that, because you love it. Because if you love it, chances are somebody else is going to like it too. And that's stuck with me like my whole career. And I mean, it's easy to, copy what other people are doing or, but it's really important to follow your creative heart, your joy, what
you.
the things that make you unique and all that kind of stuff. And as long as you do that, you're going to feel fulfilled and grateful. And then, whoever's witness to that, some people may not like it, but, chances are they will. A lot of people will, right? So that's always stuck with me, and it served me well because otherwise I wouldn't create. I would just always be thinking about, is somebody, they going to like this, and I just haven't really cared, which is, kind of uncharacteristic because I'm a very caring person and I, care a lot what people think. But when it comes to my work and the stuff that I create with my clients and even my personal work, and just, all the things that I'm doing, like, sure, there's a million mentors out there, there's a million coaches, there's a million podcasters, right? But we're doing it because it brings us joy, and we know it's going to impact at the very least one other person, right? So, and then the whole social media thing, yeah, I can totally relate to that because I've had a love-hate relationship with it, and I know a lot of people do, but I've had a few people recently who have kind of said a few kind of aha things to me about social media, and it's like, one person, actually one of my neighbors, she's like, just enjoy it. Just enjoy it. You know, it is the way we market ourselves now. It's the way we communicate socially. It's one half of the equation, right? There's in person and there's online, right? So I'm trying to embrace it more and just enjoy it, and actually, yeah, like express myself more authentically, because I think for a while there it was like, hi, I'm a photographer, here's my services, but now it's more, oh, I had this amazing shoot the other day, and this is how the client, my subject was expressing herself, like it's more like just like you would tell a friend, about what you're doing. And so I'm starting to enjoy it more, and it is making a difference. I mean, and the other thing is that it is a long game. It's a long game. You have to be consistent. It's not, I have people saying, other friends and, entrepreneurs are like, oh yeah, I posted and I got nothing. And I'm like, well, you gotta keep doing, like you're not gonna get a million followers right away, and you're not gonna have like clients, breaking down your door. It's a consistent thing. And so yeah, it's just like, I mean, our generation, it's different, right? So it's like the millennials and the whatever Z generation. I mean, it's just a part of their daily lives, right?
Yeah.
But for us, it's like it can be a slog. But I think it comes back to perspectives and
And
yeah,
choice. I mean,
and
you just
choice.
said, your friend said, just make it joyful, just find the
Yeah,
joy in it. And that's a choice. And we're always not only at choice, we've said it before, we're always choosing, and either you're choosing with awareness, or you're just choosing mindlessly. And so
Mhm.
that's a conscious decision to be made, on my part at least, is how am I going to embrace social media? Am I going to embrace it with, oh, this is something I have to do, or
Yeah,
find the joy and value in it? And I've found the joy and value in many other, seemingly mediocre or, meaningless is not the word that I want here, but tedious tasks.
yeah,
And so yeah, that's that right there, great reminder, great opportunity to just shift my perspective and find the joy
yeah,
and value in it. I mean, and the joy really, because I can see the value in it, but
yeah.
it's the joy, and to, give up or let go of some other things which maybe do bring me joy, but are they really valuable? So, like to
Yeah.
continually explore, investigate, question, and become.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah, and even this arena of, podcasting and video interviews and, like even my own, I mean, that was one of the reasons I did my interview series, because I wanted to, well, highlight change makers and entrepreneurs making a difference and all that. But it was also for personal reasons, because I wanted to express myself. I wanted to put myself out there. I want people to get to know me, hear me talk. I'm a better talker than a writer. So like, yeah, to like write captions on social media is like, it's torturous sometimes because, so now I kind of try to make it work and enjoy it by, I'll verbalize it first, and then I'll like record it, and then I'll just cut and paste, like I'll transcribe it, and then so that seems to work better for me, but yeah, just embracing all the technology we have at our fingertips to express ourselves, to put ourselves out there, because literally the world is online, and that's the arena now, and hopefully we'll get back to more in-person stuff. But it's here to stay, right? So we kind of have no choice if we want to um,
Yeah.
get our message out, right?
This it's an interesting time. Like I look at the analytics for our podcast is audio only through the Simplecast platform. So then it goes out to Apple and Amazon and all those guys, Pandora, I think.
Yeah,
And so it tells you, just even with the basic sort of package we have, it's like it tells you little little map of the world, and it's like flattened out, but it's like this is who
yeah,
you listen to in the last either 7 days or a month or forever or whatever, and just seeing like these places from all over the world where like someone in Shenzhen province in China somehow at least 2 or 3 times has like listened to our podcast.
yeah. I know, it's not
What's
amazing.
that all about?
Yeah,
So although it's like the tension and the paradox of like we want to do things locally and actually, not rather than virtually. But for some reason, doing what if you especially if you do something that you love, as you said, at
hmm,
least one other person will love it. Um, then it's strange that like someone in Australia or in England or whatever will be just, oh, this is good, and they come back for more and they come back for more, and you think, well, that's amazing. I don't even know what is going on. Like
yeah.
I may never ever encounter this person, but for some reason it just pops up, and it's like, oh wow, I inspired someone to do their version of what I'm doing. Like it's really
Yeah,
incredible.
exactly. Yeah. Well, and I just had a conversation with somebody who was a potential client, and you just never know how you're impacting someone's life. Like, we got on the Zoom call and we ended up talking for 2 hours, but I mean, he immediately jumped into, like, oh my God, I'm so inspired by what you're doing, and I love what you're doing. And it was just like, it just came like as a bit of a shock, a surprise,
Yeah.
because I was like, wow. And it was really, obviously, um, you know, complimentary and empowering for me. Like, I mean, but
Hmm.
it just came as a big surprise. So, I mean, that's a real testament to when you do follow your heart and you express yourself and you do all these things, you never know who you're going to reach or touch in or how it's going to resonate with people, unless, they tell you. But you can rest assured that person in China,
Yeah.
was watching for a reason and they're getting something out of it, and whatever that is, but you can be assured it's something positive, right? And you know
Yeah.
it's resonating with them on some
I,
level.
yeah. Like I don't even know how it's possible because somehow it's like, um, they have a whole different system of, their own version of Google and all that stuff, right? But yeah, and if we can inspire and be inspired by people locally, like that's the whole deal.
Mhm.
Like, because you're gonna impact, you're gonna feel the actual energy of people locally, or like talking to your neighbor or whatever. Um, like
Mhm.
you're literally breathing the same air almost, so it's
Yeah.
kind of cool that way. But yeah, I think I haven't even seen these things, and I'm inspired by them. So it's just listening to you talk about them. It's great.
Yeah. Well, I love that idea of energy because all the stuff we're creating energy. When I do photo shoots, there's an energy exchange, the collaboration. There's, speaking across the world. I had a guest on my podcast. It's going to air later, but we did a pre-recorded interview with her, and she's in Australia. She was my first guest that was international, So we're just like, and the energy was just so amazing, like, and I'm a high believer in the whole energy. We're all energy. It's always an energy exchange. And even, your podcast reaching the person in China, like, you're
Hmm.
communicating through energy. And
Yeah.
it sounds all woo woo, but I know you're on board.
Yeah, we're all about the woo-woo here.
Yeah.
Done with woo woo. That makes it seem like it's, like
No, but
not
it's real. It is real.
valid. And it
Yeah.
is. It is so incredibly
Scientifically
valid.
proven we're energy.
That's
So,
right.
yeah, I'm not
Everything,
actually touching this
nothing.
cup.
Yeah.
That's a whole
It's
other
just a
conversation.
denser form of energy. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are going to, I think, start to wrap things up a little bit.
Hmm.
So we're going to move into the next segment. Honey Bunch, are you ready?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so this, Linda, is called the Super Rapid Fire Question Round, where Glenn is going to bombard you with questions for 1 minute,
Oh,
and you just answer top of mind. It's just a
okay.
fun, playful
Oh,
way of
geez.
getting to know you a little bit better.
Okay.
No deep thought or anything. Just answer what comes up, first. And
Okay.
you guys are going to have 1 minute. And let
I'm
me
glad
just
you didn't tell me about this. Else I would have been canceling.
no. Okay, stopwatch. One. Okay, Honey Bunch, are you ready?
Yeah.
And go.
Okay, Linda, do you sing in the shower?
Sometimes.
Okay, which do you prefer, Instagram or Telegram?
Instagram.
Okay, Doctor Who or Dr. Seuss?
Dr. Seuss.
Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
Both.
Okay, do you prefer the 21st or the 20th century?
Oh gosh.
Quick.
Ah, 21st? Okay,
Okay,
21st. Yes.
fire or water?
Ooh, water.
Swearing or hitting a pillow?
Swearing.
Getting your child's art or eating their cooking?
Getting their art.
Okay, would you prefer a magic wand or a time machine?
Time machine.
Black and white photography or color photography?
Color.
Books or movies?
Movies.
Family night or date night?
Oh, family night.
Ding, ding,
Okay.
ding, ding, ding.
Okay.
Okay, Glenn, tell Linda what she's won. And as
Oh,
always, one is in air quotation marks for those who can't see me because the prize is within those air quotation marks.
Okay,
Okay, go ahead, Glenn.
I am holding up the book The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield.
oh,
The
very
War of
cool.
Art, also known as Break Through the Blocks and Win Your Inner Creative Battles. He's a screenwriter and a writer.
Oh, very cool.
The whole book is about overcoming resistance. It's about defining resistance, combating resistance, and then going beyond resistance to what he calls the higher realm. So it's really like hard nosed, like just slog through it and whatever. And then the
Yeah.
last part, it starts to get into the unseen forces that we can tap into to be, to find what's going on with us.
Oh,
So,
that's
and
amazing.
that's when he starts talking about angels and muses, which for a lot of people, they get through that part of the book and they're like, whoa, what's going on here? Why are they talking about angels? Why is he talking about angels and muses?
Mm.
So, this is the part, it's about a page and a half. It says, approaching the mystery. Why have I stressed professionalism so heavily in the preceding chapters? Because the most important thing about art is to work. Nothing else matters except sitting down every day and trying. Why is this so important? Because when we sit down day after day and keep grinding, something mysterious starts to happen. A process is set into motion by which inevitably and infallibly heaven comes to our aid. Unseen forces enlist in our cause. Serendipity reinforces our purpose. This is the other secret that real artists know and wannabe writers don't. When we sit down each day and do our work, power concentrates around us. The muse takes note of our dedication. She approves. We have earned favor in her sight. When we sit down and work, we become like a magnetized rod that attracts iron filings. Ideas come, insights accrete. Just as resistance has its seat in hell, so creation has its home in heaven. And it is not just a witness, but an eager and active ally. What I call professionalism, someone else might call the artist's code or the warrior's way. It's an attitude of egolessness and service. The knights of the Round Table were chaste and self-effacing, yet they dueled dragons. We're facing dragons too, fire-breathing griffins of the soul, whom we must outfight and outwit to reach the treasure of our self in potential, and to release the maiden who is God's plan and destiny for ourselves and the answer to why we were put on this planet.
Wow.
Very profound.
Yeah, it's a great book. It's a really good book.
Is it a movie too?
The War of Art.
I'd like to watch the movie.
It's short. It's a very short book. It's great.
Okay, I'll read. I can read.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Nothing
Yeah.
matters but nothing matters but sitting down every day and trying. Heaven comes to our aid. The muse takes note of our dedication. Fire breathing griffins of the soul. There was so much in there that was so awesome. And I just kept thinking, Linda, courage, 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 courage to just continue doing the work. And I mean the work as an artist, but the work as a human being, as a being that is spiritual, by nature. So Honey Bunch, that was amazing. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you for sharing that. Thank you for the gift. That's amazing.
So, okay, Linda, now is the time in the program where you get to let people know if they want to get in touch with you, if they want to find out more about you, if they want to follow you on social media, where would they go? What can they do?
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for having me on the show. I'm really excited now to do more of this. Like you said, I've done it once and I came to that border. I crossed it and I'm here on the other side. And yeah, I'm excited to speak more and hopefully be on other podcasts. And I'm really rejuvenated and excited about my own podcast, which is called The Eloquent Entrepreneur: Conversations with Everyday Changemakers. So if you go to my website, it's lindamackie.ca. It's my photography website, but there is a link there to The Eloquent Entrepreneur. You can watch all the episodes that I've done. I think I've done 17 in total so far. And I've just released, I think 3 of them now as a podcast. So if you go to Spotify or wherever, you'll find The Eloquent Entrepreneur there as a podcast. So I have the latest one up there. And then I also I'm releasing the original episodes in the order they were released in 2019. So,
Okay.
So yeah, and you can also apply to be a guest if you want to be a guest. If you are somebody who is making a difference either in or outside of your business, the whole idea is that we're all change makers and you don't have to be, Leonardo DiCaprio or, what is Greta Thunberg, like we all make a difference in, no matter the scale, right? We're all collectively trying to leave our legacy. So I'd love to chat with you. And then the Stepping to Your Essence, like I said, is starting on March 12th. It's a 1-day retreat here in Victoria. And that is also on the website. You just click on the tab that says retreat and all the information is there. It's really to inspire you to really, step into your essence, connect with who you are and your confidence and your self-expression so you can go out in the world and do what you want to do and make your mark. So that's the purpose of that. And of course, I'm always open to meeting new clients who need personal branding, photography, or even just because you want some nice portraits of yourself. I love just capturing your essence, and that's what I love to do. And yeah, I think that's about it. So yeah, lindamackie.ca. And one thing I forgot to tell you is that I belong to a Facebook group called Women in Podcasting, hosted by Jennifer Hensel, and I've been invited to be on the panel of podcasters. I'm like, I guess I'm a podcaster now. She's like, you're a podcaster now, right? I'm like, yeah. So I'm on the panel at the Fraser Valley Women's Expo on the weekend of March 4th. So I'll be there on March 4th for the panel. I think it starts at 4 o'clock or 5. yeah, yeah. Anyway, I'll be there from 4 o'clock till about 8 o'clock. And yeah, I'll be on the panel of like 7 other female podcasters, and answering questions and stuff like that. That's
Wow,
kind of
amazing.
exciting.
Lots on the
Yeah,
go, and March 4th. And I'm thinking March 3rd, is that going to be a good date? But
yeah, no, it's all good.
we are doing another Who Do You Think You Are live event
Yes,
online on Thursday, March 3rd at 7 p.m. Pacific. And so we're going to be sending out information on that in the coming week. And
yeah,
we've done one together before. I've done 4 of them, I think, up until now. It'll be an hour and a half long, and it is always, always, always such an
yeah,
engaging way to look into who we are beyond the roles, the labels, the expectations, who we think ourselves, to be, and really dig into who we are. What is the essence, as you
yeah,
would say, what is that core of who and what we truly are, and to be able to sort of, look at what our foundational life belief is, and is that foundational life belief serving us, and is it allowing us to show up as our infinite possibilities,
yeah,
or is it something that is keeping us playing small and keeping us in that box or in our comfort zone? So there will
yeah,
be some information coming up regarding that, as well, on
yeah.
my social media, on your social media. And
Well,
yeah.
that's where I came up with my infinite possibilities. Life Foundation was at the webinar that we
Yep.
did together. So
Yep.
it was life changing. So yeah, I invite everyone to join, sign up for it because it's really a treat.
Yep. And it'll be
And,
free. So
and
it's,
it's free and
it's
it's fun
done.
and
Yep.
it could potentially change your life.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So, Linda, thank you so, so, so much. I'm so grateful that we finally had a chance to do this.
Thank
And Penny
you.
Lynch, thank you so much for co-steering the ship once again, as always. And thank you to everyone who watched, who engaged, who is watching the recording. If you're watching or listening to the recording, we are so grateful for your time and presence, and for everything that comes next. So today, Linda Mackie has been our guest. Glenn Sheridan has been my co-host. My name is Lasia Kahoot. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for tuning into another brand spanking new episode of Who Do You Think You Are, coming up actually next week. That's it. Bye for
Thank you
now.
both so much, and we'll see you
Okay.
soon. Yeah,
Thank you,
thanks
everyone.
everybody for watching and
Okay.
Bye.
listening.
Bye.
Bye.
And now I'm going to end the live stream.